Sure. So I'm Vimbai Masiyiwa. My title is CEO and co-founder of Batoka Hospitality, which is a hospitality and tourism business. It's a social business. We use hospitality and tourism as a vehicle for social change. And we like to think of ourselves as a catalyst for transformation in rural communities. And how I got into this was, I come from a family that's big in technology and telecommunications. And a couple of years ago, we were looking to diversify our portfolio and stumbled on tourism and hospitality. And I was given the responsibility, or the honor, shall I say, to head that division up for our family. Yeah, so I was diagnosed with cancer about 2 weeks after my 21st birthday, while I was still in university. And, it's interesting with cancer, we all hear if you say, oh, someone has cancer, or you just think like, oh, it's really bad, but you don't fully understand what it means. So I think, part of that journey was, it's actually what got me to where I am now. So while I was in university, I was studying computer information systems. I've always been a technologist because my father's a technologist. I'm very close with my father. And the dream was to go into family business, technology, and telecommunications. But one thing that, having such a life-changing disease at a young age gave me was, you kind of, when you get these illnesses, they become your identity. So once you cross that bridge, you almost start at nothing in terms of like who you are, because for so long, everybody recognizes you as the cancer patient, especially because I was in university. My university community in the US was very supportive, but I became the girl who took time off to undergo cancer treatment. And then I had to reinvent myself. Like, who am I? What do I love? What do I enjoy? So much of my time had just become treatments, blood tests, and all of that. And it's, what brought me into the space of hospitality. It was before I was diagnosed that I first spent time in Victoria Falls as an adult. Went on safari, and we'd taken family friends there. We participated in the marathon. And 18 months later, I was finishing my treatment and trying to decide, what do I do with my life? And then you also come face to face with, possibly death. You're thinking, well, let me live it out and do the best that I can, or what I really want to do. And for me, that was discovering that computers and technology, while I love it, was just not me. And that I wanted to do something that was more about people, and that I found fun. I've always been into travel. I've always been into event coordination, event planning, into travel planning. So it all just made sense for me post that journey. Okay, I think it all kind of links, right? So if I go back to your previous question and we talk about my cancer journey, again, like cancer, I knew what depression was. I knew what anxiety was. we know the big buzzwords around mental health. And then again, as with cancer, I come face to face with something else I'm unfamiliar with, which is I struggled with depression post my treatment, just as part of this rediscovery phase. And my family really didn't at the time understand what depression was. So I got a therapist and I spoke to someone about it. I then developed anxiety post that, and then started to read about the two and try and understand, where do they come from? What does it mean when somebody is depressed? There's always been such negative connotations around mental health, particularly on the African continent. And then there's also the cost of looking after your mental health. So once it's kind of sad to say it this way, but once I had experienced it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's probably so many more other people in this position who don't have access to the resources or don't have access to, I live in the UK. It's, quite easy on, the system here, the healthcare system here to get help and to get treatment. Whereas when we look at African healthcare systems, we don't have the amount of funding, we don't have the infrastructure to do the same thing. And then on top of that, there is the stigma around mental health. So these are all these things that I was kind of like, if I died tomorrow, what difference could I have made, or what could I have done? And my being a mental health activist was one of those things that I realized. So it was, well, I don't want other people to sit in the same situations that I sat in and not understand what's going on with them, like not understand that you can ask for help and that it's okay to not be okay. So my work around mental health and being an activist is really partnering with grassroots organizations that already do the work, using my voice, and then also using my networks to help fundraise and be a catalyst for change in that way. I also think as a female businesswoman, a Black female businesswoman, we already have so much pressure on us, and just being like to people slightly younger than me, I'm young, so younger than me, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to stop and be like, you need to ask for help. I think it's really important to have those voices. I struggled to find those voices when I was trying to decide, do I talk about the mental health challenges that I've had? Do I talk about the fact that as a normal person, I have down days? Or do you just get into this life that we've all created for ourselves, where we grind, we go, and everything is perfect? So for me, I see it as filling a gap where I think there aren't enough voices, particularly in the African space and in Black female business space. Thank you so much. I think, to be honest, I was inspired by the location more than anything else. Anyone who knows me will tell you I am a city girl through and through. Everything about me is like glam and comfort, and being in the bush is not what you associate with that. But when I visited Victoria Falls, as I said, it was just so life-changing for me. The terrain is beautiful, the peace that you get from it is beautiful. And then also, you go to these safari lodges and you can hear a lion roar at like 6 a.m, and it's just like phenomenal. And for me, it was mind-blowing. And we go into hospitality. I'm like, well, we want to invest in the African continent. I'm personally not keen to invest elsewhere. All about Africa and how we advance our economies. So when we look at what do we have as assets on the African continent, it's our diversity, our cultures, and our wildlife. And what people travel for to visit the continent the most is our wildlife. So it was a no-brainer that our first product has to be a safari lodge. And what it looks like now is inspired by the location itself. We're in the Zambezi National Park. It's inspired by the people, the communities around there. So everything has been taken from the pattern that represents that property in particular, to the basket weaving that we've used for the lampshades. Everything is inspired by where it's located and the communities that are around it. Safari lodges is not all we're doing. We will do way more than just safari. Yeah, I'll start with the Tesse Fund, because that's something that's really close to my heart. And as I said, it's all about how we use the industry to be a catalyst for change and to transform local communities. And that has to be a shared effort. One thing that I hate is coming into space and dictating what needs to change and what needs to be done. the people that can best tell you what needs to be done in a community are the people that live in that community. And that's where a lot of our staff come from. And during our interview process, one of the questions that we'd ask was, well, when you look around your community, what is it that you see that you could do? If you had the funds to do it, what are some of the challenges that you see and how would you solve those? So, we had, I'll talk about our head chef, for instance. She said, well, I'm a mom and I see the friends that my daughter or my son hangs out with, and they have substance abuse issues. That's a big challenge for us. Then we had another member of staff who's also in the kitchen, and he said, well, fresh produce, we don't find fresh produce here. And we just don't have the resources I'd love to build a community farm where everyone can feed off it, but we can also supply some of the properties. So for us, we then said, okay, well, I don't think it's sustainable for us as a business to just keep giving, but let's do it as a community initiative. So Tesse Fund is really for every booking that we take, a percentage of that goes to a separate fund, which funds staff initiatives, such as the community farm or the mental health initiative that we're doing with our head chef to tackle substance abuse in the local community. So that's pretty much the idea of it all. Over time, we hope that we can partner with other accommodation and hospitality providers in the area and expand it beyond. We're currently in a village called Chisuma. We want to expand it beyond Chisuma and use members within each community to be the ones that transform their communities. They're the ones that know the challenges. They're the ones that know how people think. And they, will know how to get that change. They just need a little bit of funding or a little bit of support or maybe some mentorship. So, through the Tesse Fund, we're able to make provision for all of that. And then I think your other question, if I remember correctly, was the location of our Batoka Large Zambezi Sands. And that's in a national park. One of the biggest national parks in the Victoria Falls area in Matabeleland. And it is on the banks of the Zambezi River, but an incredible location. So all of our luxury tents look over onto the Zambezi River, going upstream towards the falls. And it's just such a relaxing and serene place. Hopefully one day you'll get to come and visit. But yeah, the location is incredible. It also, leasing from the national park as opposed to having a private reserve, there's advantages in that as well for the Town Council of Victoria Falls. It means that we partner with them, we work with them on their anti-poaching, and we have to participate in how do we look after the roads in the national park, how do we look after the water sites and all of that. So it's making sure that we play our part. I think sometimes when you are on a private reserve, you only focus on the land that you have, and you tend to forget about what else is going on. So it's also like a bit of like a forced initiative. You have to participate in what is going on in the greater Victoria Falls.